Hi, it's Karen Grigorian, and in this video I will show you how to use my app LZ Desktop, or Large Zoomable Desktop. This is what it looks like. It's just a square canvas, which you can zoom and pan, and you can place different elements on this canvas. Elements like files, web links, images, text documents, text labels. You can also draw lines and arrows, and you can also use navigational elements like these rectangles. How big is this canvas? Let's see. Let's zoom in on this image and zoom in a bit more. From here I cannot zoom in any further. So it's not infinite, but it's quite big. If this is the smallest possible place, uh, we can fit 4.3 billion of these on this square. If you cheat, you can have even more. For example, if I create another place over here, I can then select it and make it smaller. Now I cannot zoom into it, but if I click on it, I can still go there. So that's why I can have these smaller places here. It's not recommended to go too deep with it because at some zoom level, the precision of coordinates will not be enough. And as you move things around, the elements will start to jiggle. Now, let me show you how I use this app, and you can think of how you can use it for your own use case. Basically, I use it for a few different things. First, for my work, I'm a mobile app developer. I create mobile apps for my clients. And so here I have a place dedicated to my work. Here you can see I have some tools that may be useful for any project. Here I have projects, one project, another project. Here I have a set of projects I do for one client, some coin catalogs. Here I have some useful links like graphic design, API documentation, admin panel, and here I have password for my for the admin panel. Here I have links to app stores. This links to the source code, and so on. I also use it for collecting some links and other resources when I studied something. For example, here I have a place dedicated to learning new things like quantum mechanics, history, machine learning, programming. Uh, I also have some links to music clips. Maybe not the best way to organize your playlists, but you can still have some links. Um, and that's pretty much it. Here I have personal projects like Large Zoomable Desktop. Now let's talk about some big ideas behind this app. You see, I view it as not just as an app, but as a prototype for a new operating system with a new kind of user interface. Up until now, we've had only two kinds of user interfaces for computer screens. Command line interface where you had to type in commands, and a window-based graphical user interface. Now, what is the problem with this window-based interface? I think by now it's completely outdated. It was created in the 70s and 80s, and we have this thing we call desktop. Basically, we compare computers to desks, right? So your computer is a desk. But the problem is the desk we're talking about is the size of your computer screen. So it's a very small desk. In many cases, it's smaller than a coffee table. It looks more like a stool. So imagine yourself sitting in front of a stool and you place different things on it. And you have here like a heap of things. Those paper notes represent your files, folders, your apps, parts of apps like your sliding windows and pop-ups you may have in your apps. And it's always crowded. You always don't have enough space. So when you want to see something, you have to move something aside, or you just stack things on your desk, on your ridiculously small desk. And to me, it feels, cluttered and claustrophobic and completely inconvenient. Now, this heap of papers, it's not completely disorganized because they are connected to each other. So maybe this image represents it better. You see how things are connected with threads. So basically what you are navigating is a network, a graph-like structure of things. Imagine like a fish net with pieces of paper connected to it, and all those things, imagine them dangling in the wind or something, like they move relative to each other. And at any moment you can only see a small part of it. Let's say this is a window of some app, and you can see maybe a couple of buttons that lead to somewhere else. And that's, I don't know, to me that feels completely wrong and outdated. So what is the alternative? If this stool is too small, right, why not have virtual space, which can be large, and where you can place things in that space and they will not move. You will organize them spatially. You will use your spatial memory to navigate them, and it should be easy. And from my experience, it feels much more natural to navigate your computer this way. Now, since this new interface is based on space, you may ask me, can we do it in 3D? And the answer is yes. Actually, I've been working on it. Now, this functionality is not ready and it's not included in the released app, but I can still show you what it would look like when it's ready. So imagine that you can have a scene where you can walk, you can have walls there, and basically you can have all the same elements there, like links, files. Let's say I want to go to this page. I just click on this link, I go to this page. The same goes for files. Here I have some documents. I can just click on them and read them. I can move things around. This. I can jump up and see the whole picture. And you can imagine how you can create different rooms for different projects. Let's say, let's create a room. So as you can see, I don't have good tools for creating new stuff. When it's ready, the 3D scenes will be just documents, just like text documents. For example, this is how I create a text document. The same way you would create a 3D scene. You would place it on your canvas and then you could enter it from there. Another problem that computers have is imposed hierarchies. Basically, apps impose hierarchies on you that you may not want to use. For example, let's say you work on project X and you want to find a link that is related to this project. So you go to your browser and then you have to search through a bunch of bookmarks. And you have bookmarks from different projects there. And the same goes for notes. Your notes typically live in one application. And that is very inconvenient because it adds extra steps and then it adds extra work for you to do because you have to search for things. It would make much more sense to have a place on your computer which is dedicated to Project X, like this one. And in this place you may have all the links you need and all the files and notes. In the next part of this video, I will show you how to actually use this app. So if you haven't downloaded this app yet, I suggest that you go to this page on the website reinventingtheweb.com and download it. We have versions for Windows and Mac. Now let's see how to actually use this app. Let's start with basic navigation. You can use your mouse wheel or trackpad to zoom in and out, but also you can use these navigational elements, these rectangles, which I call places. You simply click on them and you zoom in to them like this. The same works with images. You can just click on any image and zoom into that image. Now, every time you click on some place or an image, your position is saved in the app. So, for example, if I go to work, then I can go to personal projects and then to learning new things. Now I can use arrow keys on my keyboard to navigate between those places like this. I go back and forward. Also, let's say I'm here, I can use up arrow key on my keyboard to go one level up like this. Then I can press it again like this. Now, wherever you are, you can always see entire canvas by pressing H. Just another example, I go to this image, then I can go to this image, and this image, I can go back, back, forward, forward. You can also save your locations which are not linked to any image or place by simply pressing S. So for example, let's say I like this view, I can press S, and then maybe I go here and press S, and then here, press S. And again, I can use arrow keys on my keyboard to navigate between those locations. Some places can be invisible. For example, if we go to paintings, if I press Command on Mac or Control on Windows, you can see that there are two places which are invisible, which means that I can just click on the face and go to that face, click on this face, go to this face, and then I can use arrow keys to go between those two places. Also, we have these navigational elements, which I call local links. Again, if I press Command, you can see that this link is connected with an arrow with this place, then with this place, and then it's connected to entire image. So, which means that if I click here, I'll go first to this place, and then I can use arrow keys to go further. It looks like this. Go to this eye, and I press right arrow, and I can go back. Over here we have a bunch of faces. So if I click on this, go this face, and then I use the right arrow to see all the faces. Now, if I click on some face like this, you see nothing happens. Whereas when I click on this face, we go to that face. So what's the difference? invisible places can be active or inactive. For example, if I select this one, you can see that this one is active. And if I select this one, it's inactive. So I can activate it. And now if I click on it, it works. Now these local links, they are not only used for slideshows. Oftentimes you can use them just to connect to some other place. For example, this music link connects to this place. So I click it and I just go to music. Another example is that I collect some resources on programming over here, but programming is also related to my work. So I simply added a link over here in the place dedicated to my work. So I can just click on it and go here. Now, as an example, let's create a slideshow of these 3 images. I can create local link. Let's call it slideshow. Now we need to create arrows. We can make arrows invisible. Now click. Now let's see how to move things around. To enter editing mode, you press Command on Mac and Control on Windows. While pressing this button, you can select things with a frame like this, or you can select them one by one. And you exit editing mode by pressing Escape. So let's say I want to move this file shortcut. I select it, and from here I can move it, scale it, move it with resizing. So let's say I want to move it. I press this button, and then I need to select some anchor point and click again. That's it. To scale, I press this button, then you just select any corner like this. You can also press Option to scale from the center. The difference between these 2 types of moving is what happens when you zoom in and out. For example, if I use simple move, then if I zoom in, you see how it retains its absolute size. But if I use this option and zoom in, see how it becomes smaller as I zoom in and bigger as I zoom out. When you use this option, you can also press P to pack it, which allows you to then use navigational elements. For example, I can click here, go here, or just click on places. Let's say I want to release it here. I just press P one more time, and then I can click here to release it. Let's put it back. all these commands have keyboard shortcuts. So to move, you can just press M. To scale, you press S. For this option, you press P to pick up. And also, we don't have here a copy button, which I will add later, but you can press C on your keyboard to copy. Let's see. Select it. I press C on my keyboard. Now I just move it like as usual. Now I have copy. I can delete it. Now let's create some elements. All the elements you can create are over here in the menu, and a lot of them have keyboard shortcuts. So let's see the shortcuts. Here they are. So let's start with a place. I can click place here or just press P, and you can see that it says you cannot place anything outside of this square. And that's because we use the perimeter of the actual computer screen to create a place. And if you see the space outside of the square, it means you're trying to create a place that's bigger than the square. So we need to zoom in so that everything is gray. And here, if I press P, the place is created. But it's too big. Let me resize it. Okay, so I have a place. Now let's create a text. Let's call it examples. And this is a bug, by the way. It shouldn't jump like this. Let's put it on the inside. Now let's start with lines and arrows. So I can press L and draw lines like this. Then I can just press escape. For arrows, we don't have any keyboard shortcuts, so we just press here. Create arrows like this. Now I can select some arrow and change its color, for example. Arrows can be made invisible, as I showed before. Okay, so these are arrows. Now let's create a document. I can place it over here. Then just click the document and you can edit it. In documents, we use Markdown. So for example, I can say title, blah, blah, save, like this. Now let's add some link. You can click link or just press A, and here you can just type in link address and title. Link addresses should always start with something like HTTPS something. But usually you want to copy your addresses, your links from the browser. So I would recommend you to install some browser extension that allows you to copy URLs as Markdown, because this way it will copy URL and title in one line. So if I copy it like this and then go press A, it's pre-populated here. So I just press done. I can place it over here. So if I click it, I'll go to this page. Now to to get an image from your browser, let's say we have image over here, you just right click and copy image address, and either select image here or just press I. Again, it's pre-populated here. And just place it here. Also, I forgot to show you that if you copy the address here as markdown, you can also go to your document and paste it here. So it can work from here as well. Now for images, you can see this URL here is it's blue, which means that we use image from the server. The app has some, default cache that lasts only 1 day. So every day, once a day, this image will be loaded from the server. So if you want to avoid this, you can right click and say, let's say, save locally as JPEG. Now you can see it's saved. Now its URL is white, which means that we use a local copy. So this image will not be loaded from server anymore. Now let's see how to add files. If you have files on your computer which you want to add to the canvas, you simply select them and then you drag and drop them on your canvas like this. As you can see, these are file shortcuts. When I point to them, in the bottom left corner, you can see the path to the file. And to open the file, you just double click it. If a file is an image, you can select it and press I to show it as an image. Now you can resize it. Then if you want to show it again as a file, you can select it and press F. Another way to add a file is to create it. Over here you can select the type of file. Let's give it a name. Over here you can add new file types to this list. Just click this button, and in this folder you can add empty files of new types. These numbers here, they are responsible for ordering of items in the list. And by the way, you don't have to only use empty files. You can use templates basically. So let's say I copy this one. Let's give it number 50. And let's call it, let's say, letter. You can open it and let's create a template. For example, dear blank, I write to inform you that blank, and save it. So now I can open it and I have here this template. Let's call it letter to John. Select letter. Now if I open it, it should show the template. Now let's talk about managed files. What's the idea behind managed files? If I'm going to organize my files spatially on this big canvas, I don't want to worry about their actual locations in the file system. When I point to a file shortcut, you can see at the bottom of the screen there is a path to that file. Now, I don't want to know where this file is, let's say. So the idea is that the app can manage some of your files. And it manages them by placing them in a special folder. So all the managed files live in a special folder. And when you point to them, instead of showing a path, it just says managed file. And when you create files from here, they are by default managed. So they are placed in that special folder. But you can take any shortcut, right click and say manage file, and it will be moved to that folder. So for example, this file currently lives over here in my downloads folder. Let's see what happens if I press manage file. Okay, it was moved to managed files folder, and now it's just a file, it's not a shortcut. And over here it disappeared. Now the image is also a shortcut because we created it from the file, and it has full path here. So we can right click it and say manage image file, and it was sent to the same folder basically. Now we don't have files here. You can also right click a managed file and say stop managing file. Now you just select a folder where you want to put it, like this. Now it's a shortcut again, and this image is here. So you can move files to and from this special folder. Now the difference between shortcuts, let's make it also a shortcut. The difference between a managed file and a shortcut is that whatever you do to a managed file is for real. So if I delete this file, it will be deleted from my computer. If I copy it, a copy will be created on my computer. But whatever I do with this, with shortcuts, it's not real. Basically, if I delete this, the actual file will be intact. If I copy this shortcut, I will have two shortcuts pointing to the same file. Now, you may say that you may want to know some information about this file, like its size or dates of creation, things like that. And in the future, I will add this functionality over here. So you will basically right click it and there will be file info. Also, I will add some functionality that would allow you to list all the things that you have on your canvas, sort by size, stuff like that. But for now, as a temporary measure, you may have to actually go to that file, to that folder. And the easiest way to find it is to go here, edit file types, and that's how you find the main folder, LZ desktop, where all the user information is. And you need to find this folder worlds, main world. The world is basically a square. In the future, there may be multiple squares. So basically here is all your user data. This is the database where all the coordinates of all the elements live, all the text nodes. Here we have saved images. That's, if you remember, we saved this image and now this image lives somewhere in this folder. And this is the special folder I was talking about for managed files. And over here you just see a lot of files. And it looks like a mess, but it doesn't matter because you access those files from here where they are spatially organized. Also, you can see here some subfolders, numbered subfolders. And the idea is that whenever there is a file name collision, the app will simply create a subfolder and place a file there. So for example, if I copy this file, by the way, let's find it here. My file, this is that file. Let's say I want to copy it. The copy should be in this folder. Here it is. So basically, from a user's perspective, you should view it. You should view this whole canvas as one giant folder where you can place files, and it allows multiple files with the same name, basically. Now let's talk about backups. As you add more and more stuff to your desktop will become more and more valuable to you. So what you don't want is to lose everything due to some accident. And that's why backups are very important for this app. And you create backups by going to settings, and here you select a folder where you want to export all your backups. Now in my case, I know that my documents folder is backed by iCloud. So I created this folder over here. I call it LZ Desktop Backups. You can call it whatever you want. And I selected this folder here. Now, if you add a password, your archives will be encrypted. If you don't add password, you will have just regular zip files. Now you can create a backup at any moment by clicking this button. Also, you can enable automatic backups, and this way the app will try to create a backup every day. And it looks if there were any changes since the last upload, and if there were no changes, it doesn't create a backup for that particular day. Now, if you want to load from backup, you click this button, and here you just select the backup file, specify the password, and load it. Then you will have to reload the app. Now, this is what those backups look like. In my case, each of them is about 60 megabytes, so I have to delete the older ones from time to time. And this is not the best scenario for backups, because every time there are changes, you basically upload the whole database there. So in the future, I will implement another strategy where the backups will be progressive. Only the changes will be uploaded. Now, what goes into backups are these three things I showed you before, including managed files. So you may not want to manage large files like movies, for example. In the future, I may add another folder for managed files which are not to be backed up. But for now, you may assume that all the managed files are going to be backed up. Here is some useful information. All the data in the app is organized in squares. Basically, it's optimized the same way maps are usually optimized. You have probably noticed when, for example, navigating Google Maps, sometimes you can see that data is loaded in squares. So it works the same way in this app. So, for example, at the top level, we have one square. At the second level, we have four squares. The third have 16 squares, and so on. And there are, I don't remember exactly, but somewhere around 16 or 17 layers of those squares. And so when you zoom out, for example, you see a bunch of things around here, but you don't see smaller details. You only see them when you zoom in. Then you zoom in and see more details, and that's how how this app is optimized. Which means that when you make things smaller, you push little details to lower levels of those square tiles. And by doing so, you make it easier for your computer to process everything because it doesn't have to process everything at once. So on my screen here, you can see that I could have easily made all those places at least 2 times bigger, but this way that would be, more crowded, and also that would put more stress on my computer. Also, if you have large images, uh, either try not to use large images because they can slow down everything, or if you must have a large image, zoom in as much as possible and place it on the lowest possible level. This way, it will only slow your navigation when you actually view it. And when you zoom out a little bit, then it will stop, slowing down your navigation. You will be able to work on everything else as normal. Now let's briefly return to local links and slideshows, because I want to explain something to you. Uh, the way it works is when you click on this label the first time, it has to calculate the route. So it looks for the arrow that touches the label. Then it looks for all other arrows that may follow it. And then for each arrow, it looks at the tip of the arrow and finds the smallest possible rectangular element. And rectangular elements include places, images, and text documents. So, for example, for this arrow, the smallest element is this place. If it wasn't here, then the smallest element would be this image. And if the image wasn't here, then the smallest element would be this place, and so on. But because of how this app is optimized, not all data is loaded at any given time. So it may be the case that there is some other, even smaller element over here, which we cannot see. And so it means that to calculate the root, you cannot only use visible elements, you have to use all the data from the database. And that takes time. So in my case, this calculation takes about a second. And with time, it gets even worse, because in the future, I may have 2 times more stuff on this desktop, and it may take 2 seconds, for example. But the good news is that we only calculate the root one time. So the first time, this label is yellow, which means it doesn't know the root. It has to calculate it. So when I click it, notice how long it would take. Now, the second time I click it, it navigates instantly. Now, the downside of it is that if you change something, if you change the root, then the label may not know that there were any changes. For example, let's say here we have this music label, and let's say we want to move this entire thing a little bit. Just move it like this. Now this label is still pointing to the music, but let's see what happens when we click it. It points to it goes to the old place, basically. To change it in the future, I will add an option, so you'd be able to right click and there would be an option recalculate route. But for now, what you can do is simply move the label a little bit, but make sure that the arrow still touches the label. Now it has forgotten the route, and we can click it again. We'll calculate new route, and that's it. So when this is brown, it means it knows the route. When it's yellow, it means it has to calculate the root. There is one more thing I wanted to show to you. If it becomes too crowded with all the texts and links, you can copy all the texts and paste them in some document. For example, let's select these texts and press copy texts. Now I can go here, like this. Now I can clean it up here. But I'm not gonna do it for now. And finally, one piece of advice. Before creating something small, create something big. Because let's say I want to create a document and I create it in the middle of nowhere. I zoom in like this. And when I zoom out, it's easy for me to lose it. So let's delete it. To avoid that, you can create, let's say you can create a place, for example. And then inside that place, you can create your document. So always create something big before you create something small. And in the beginning, your entire square will be empty. So add big things. And then later, when things become more crowded, that's when you should organize them. And that was about everything I wanted to share with you in this video. I haven't covered a couple of things like collage frames and connections between documents. I will cover them in other videos, so consider subscribing to my channel for the updates. And also I have a Discord channel. You can find link to it in the settings over here. Currently there are no people here, but you can ask me any questions here, report bugs. But most importantly, what I would like to see here is people sharing screenshots and videos of how they use this app. Because I'm sure different people will use it differently. And yeah, it would be nice to create some kind of community here where people share with each other their know-hows. And now it's about, I think I showed you everything I wanted to show. Thank you for watching this video.